I never thought I'd believe in love again, not after everything that happened. My heart was still stitched together with broken threads, barely hanging on. I'd tried moving on, but how could you move on when every memory felt like a knife twisting inside you? That's when I met him. It wasn't planned, of course. I wasn't looking for anything. If anything, I was trying to avoid anything that could mess with my peace. But the universe, or whatever you want to call it, had other plans. I was at a small cafe, sitting by the window, staring at nothing when I saw him. Ethan. Our eyes met across the room, and it was like the world disappeared for a second. Everything around me, people talking, cups clinking, the distant hum of conversation faded out. All I could see was him. Hey, he said, as he approached, his voice warm, like the sun on a cold day. Mind if I sit here? I blinked, trying to collect myself. No, sure. He smiled and took the seat opposite me, his eyes never leaving mine. I'm Ethan. I know we don't know each other, but you look like you could use some company. I tried to laugh, but it came out more like a nervous breath. I'm fine, really. Just thinking. Ethan raised an eyebrow, a playful grin tugging at his lips. Thinking, huh? About what? I hesitated. I wasn't about to spill my heart to a stranger. Just life, I guess. It's complicated. He leaned in slightly, his gaze soft but intense. Life's always complicated, but that doesn't mean it has to be bad. Sometimes it's just about the timing. I nodded, unsure if I agreed, but there was something about the way he said it. It wasn't just words. It was like he actually understood. Like maybe he knew what it felt like to be lost. Maybe, I replied, looking down at my coffee. Or maybe it's just easier to believe in fairy tales when things are broken. He leaned back, his fingers tapping on the table. Fairy tales are for the hopeful. Some of us just need to find a different kind of story. I couldn't help but laugh, though it felt bittersweet. And what kind of story do you have in mind? His eyes sparkled as he said, one where the impossible isn't so impossible after all. For a moment, the weight in my chest lightened. I didn't know why, but I felt something stir. Like maybe, just maybe, he was right. Maybe I could believe in something again. We talked for hours, the world outside fading into the background. He made me laugh, made me forget the bitterness of my past. With him, it felt like anything was possible. But deep down, I knew something was off. A part of me wondered if this was just another fairy tale, one that would crumble just like the rest. But then again, maybe that was just the fear talking. And maybe, just maybe, this time could be different. I wasn't ready for the things Ethan said to me that day. We were lying together, just talking, as the sun dipped below the horizon. It felt like one of those moments where time itself paused to let us breathe, to let us just be. You know, he said, his voice soft but certain. I know things haven't been perfect, but I promise you, no matter what happens, we'll always find our way back to each other. I turned to him, unsure if I was hearing him right. What do you mean? We've barely been together a few months. He chuckled lightly, brushing a lock of hair behind my ear. It's not about time. It's about commitment. When you find someone worth fighting for, you fight for them, no matter what. I shook my head, not completely buying it. That sounds nice, Ethan, but promises are just words. Words that people say when they want to make you believe. But when things get hard, I stopped myself, my voice wavering a little. He shifted to face me, his eyes locked with mine. I'm serious. It's not just talk. I know we've been through some stuff, but this, us, it's real. I wanted to believe him. I did, but I was terrified of hoping again. Terrified of giving someone that much power over me. But how do you know? How do you know we can survive all the stuff that's out there? He smiled gently, the kind of smile that made my heart flutter despite myself. Because I believe in us. I believe in you. I don't want to live a life where I let go of something that feels this right. I swallowed, feeling something inside me shift. It was strange, but there was something about him, his certainty, his words that made me start to think maybe this could work. Maybe I didn't have to be scared of love after all. Maybe this time, it could actually be different. Okay, I whispered, almost not believing the words myself. Okay, I'll try to believe you. You don't have to try, he said, his hand resting on mine. I'll show you. Every day, I'll show you why this is real. His words, his touch, they felt like security, like something I hadn't known I was missing. Over the next few weeks, things between us only deepened. Late night phone calls, texts in the middle of the day that made my heart skip a beat, moments of laughter and quiet silence. He was there. He was always there, and I started to feel like I could lean on him, trust him. There were nights when I'd lie awake, my heart racing, wondering if I was falling too fast, if I was letting myself believe in something I couldn't have. But then I'd hear from him again, another text, another call, his voice, his promise echoing in my mind. I told you, he'd remind me, we're in this together, and nothing's going to change that. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was finally starting to breathe again. Maybe I wasn't ready to dive in head first just yet, but I was starting to believe that maybe, just maybe, this was real. But what I didn't know was that promises, no matter how beautiful, could be broken. And trust, no matter how deeply you gave it, could become the thing that would eventually cut you the deepest. The distance between us was starting to feel too real. At first, I tried to ignore it, telling myself that love would be enough. Ethan and I were in different cities, different worlds, but we had something that felt solid, right? I told myself that no amount of miles could change that. I miss you. I texted him one evening, staring at the empty space next to me in bed. I miss you too. We'll see each other soon. He replied almost instantly. It was comforting, in a way, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Our late-night conversations were becoming less frequent, his replies slower. The phone calls that used to last hours now barely reached 10 minutes. Everything okay? I asked one night, after he had gone silent for nearly a day. Yeah, just busy with work. You know how it is, he responded, but there was a coldness in his words that I hadn't noticed before. I tried to push the doubt aside. Maybe it was just his schedule, or maybe it was the stress of being apart. I wanted to believe it. Wanted to believe him, but something in me refused to let it go. I called him later that week, my heart in my throat as I waited for him to pick up. Hey, what's up? His voice was muffled, like he wasn't in a place where he could talk freely. Just wondering what's going on, I said, trying to sound casual, but my gut was twisting. You've been distant lately, he sighed, a long, drawn-out sound. It's nothing. I've just got a lot on my plate right now. You know how things are. I swallowed, trying to ignore the knot forming in my chest. I get it. I miss you. I miss us. He paused before responding. I miss you too. But we'll get through this. We always do. The words felt rehearsed, like he was trying to convince himself as much as me. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But as the days went by, the little signs started piling up. I'd catch him online late at night, yet he wouldn't respond to my texts. His social media posts seemed more distant, like he was living a life that didn't include me. One evening, I checked my phone to find a message from him that made my heart drop. I'm sorry, I can't talk tonight. Something came up. We'll talk soon, okay? I didn't know why, but something about that message made me freeze. It wasn't just the words. It was the tone, detached, distant, like he was already slipping away. I pressed my fingers to my temples, trying to calm the whirlwind in my head. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to face the possibility that the love we had was fading. But the more time passed, the harder it became to ignore the growing gap between us. I couldn't shake the feeling that Ethan wasn't just distant because of his work. There was something else, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to find out what it was. I should have trusted my instincts. It all started with a text. One random morning, when I was still waking up, I saw a message from Ethan. It was from someone I didn't recognize. The name was familiar, but I couldn't place it right away. Is everything okay with you and Ethan? I haven't seen him in a while. My heart stopped. I stared at the screen, not sure if I was reading it right. The name on the message was Rachel. I couldn't breathe. My fingers trembled as I typed a quick response. Who is this? The reply came almost instantly. His girlfriend? Sorry, I thought you knew. I felt like the ground had disappeared beneath me. The words blurred in front of my eyes. I sat there for a moment, staring at the phone screen as a heavy weight pressed against my chest. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. What the hell was happening? I didn't even think. I grabbed my keys and drove straight to his apartment, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. My mind was a mess of thoughts I couldn't process. Ethan, a girlfriend? Another woman? How could this be happening? When I got there, I knocked hard. I didn't care who heard. I just needed answers. The door opened, and there he was, standing in the doorway looking completely surprised. Hey, What's going on? He asked, clearly trying to act normal, but his voice faltered. Who's Rachel? I demanded, not bothering with pleasantries. He froze. His face lost all color. He took a step back, running his hand through his hair. Look, it's not what you think. I didn't let him finish. What do you mean? Not what I think. You've been seeing someone else? Behind my back? How long? Calm down, he said, a little too defensively. It's not like that. I didn't mean for things to get complicated. Then what is it? You've been lying to me, Ethan. My voice cracked, the anger rising so quickly it felt like fire burning through my veins. I'm sorry, okay? He stepped back, avoiding my gaze. It was a mistake. I wasn't thinking. A mistake? Are you serious? I felt the tears rising, but I fought them back. I couldn't cry. Not yet. Not when the anger was burning so hot. You promised me. You said this would last, that we'd always fight for each other. And I couldn't even finish the sentence. I was so angry, so hurt, that the words wouldn't come out. Look, I didn't mean for this to happen, he said again, his voice shaky. Rachel and she and I were just having some fun. It didn't mean anything. Fun? I repeated, my voice sharp with disbelief. You don't do that to someone you care about, Ethan. You don't just have fun behind their back. You don't betray someone who trusted you. His eyes darted around the room, clearly uncomfortable. I don't know what you want me to say. I was stupid, okay? I should have told you. But you didn't. And now I'm the idiot for trusting you. For believing in you. I snapped. My hands were shaking. I felt sick, but I wasn't going to let him see that. You didn't just lie to me, Ethan. You lied to us. Everything we had. You ruined it. I never wanted to hurt you, he said, his voice quieter now, but his words felt hollow. Then why did you do it? I was barely holding it together. Why? Was I not enough for you? Ethan opened his mouth, but no words came out. He stood there, silent, and that silence was worse than anything he could have said. Finally, I turned away, my heart pounding in my chest. I couldn't look at him anymore. You've made your choice, Ethan, and now, I'm making mine. Please, don't leave like this, he called after me, his voice desperate, but I didn't stop. I couldn't. When I got in the car, I slammed the door behind me, trying to control the fury that was bubbling inside me. How could I have been so blind? How could I have trusted him so fully, so completely, only for him to tear everything apart with a single selfish act? I gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. My heart was broken, but I wasn't going to let him see the tears. I wasn't going to let him think that after all this, I'd still be the same person who believed in him. Not anymore. I couldn't trust anyone. Not like this. Not ever again. I couldn't stop replaying that conversation with Ethan in my head. His face, his words, they were like a constant loop, burning through my thoughts. I didn't know how to move forward. How do you keep going when the one person you trusted more than anyone else shatters you into 1,000 pieces? I stared at my phone, staring at the messages. I couldn't bring myself to delete. Messages that now felt like a cruel joke. I promise we'll always find our way back. I laughed bitterly. Where was he now? Where was the man who swore to fight for me? All I had was his absence and his lies. Hey, you okay? My friend Jenna's voice broke through the fog in my head as she slid into the seat across from me at the cafe. She was always there, trying to pull me out, but I couldn't bring myself to care anymore. I'm fine, I said, though the words felt wrong even as I said them. You don't look fine, she said gently, her eyes searching my face. You've been avoiding us. Your phone's been off. You haven't answered my calls. Talk to me, please. I just shook my head, staring at the coffee cup in front of me. What's there to talk about? It's over. It was all a lie. Her silence said more than words ever could. Jenna wasn't one for pushing. She just let me be, knowing there was nothing anyone could do to fix this. I dragged my hands through my hair. How could he do that? I trusted him. I gave him everything. And now I'm nothing. Stop. You're not nothing, she said, reaching across the table to take my hand. I know it feels like the world's ending right now, but it's not. You're just hurting. You'll get through this. But I wasn't sure anymore. I wasn't sure if I wanted to get through this. How do you come back from something like this? How do you trust again when the person who promised forever breaks you? I don't even know who I am without him anymore, I whispered, my voice small. I hated how weak I sounded, but it was the truth. Ethan had been my world, my everything. And now, I was lost. Listen to me, Jenna said, her voice firm. You are not defined by him. You're not defined by this breakup. You're strong, even if you don't feel like it right now. I don't feel strong, I muttered, looking away. I don't feel anything. It's like I'm hollow inside. Jenna didn't know what to say. No one did. How do you comfort someone who feels like they've been completely emptied out? It wasn't just the betrayal. It was everything that came with it, the lost trust, the broken future, the lie that everything had been real. Do you want to talk about what happened? Really? Talk about it? Jenna asked, her voice quieter now, like she knew she had to be gentle with me. I took a deep breath. I didn't want to talk about it, but I needed to. The pain of keeping it all in was suffocating. He lied to me. He promised he'd never hurt me. And he did. He did it without even thinking. Jenna nodded. I'm so sorry. I know it doesn't make it better, but you have to remember, his choices don't have anything to do with your worth. Don't let him take that from you. I bit my lip, feeling the sting of tears threatening to spill. I don't even know how to forgive him. I don't know how to forgive myself for being so stupid. You're not stupid, Jenna said softly. You loved him, and that's not something to be ashamed of. But you're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to hurt. You just can't let it define you. I stared down at my hands, clenched tightly around my coffee cup. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But the truth was, I didn't know how to pick up the pieces. I didn't know who I was without him. Do you want me to stay? Jenna asked, her voice full of concern. I shook my head. I just need some time. She squeezed my hand one last time, standing up to leave. I'm here whenever you need me. And I was alone again. Alone with my thoughts, my questions, and a pain that felt like it would never go away. The world felt so big, and I felt so small. Would it always hurt like this? Would I ever feel whole again? It had been weeks since everything fell apart, but I still felt broken. The anger, the betrayal, it consumed me. But there was a quiet voice inside me, a whisper that kept saying, you can't stay like this forever. I couldn't live in this hole, constantly looking over my shoulder, waiting for Ethan to come back and fix me. I was sitting at my desk one morning when Jenna texted me, asking if I wanted to grab coffee. I almost ignored it, thinking that the last thing I needed was another sympathetic look or it'll be okay speech. But something in me pushed back against that. I was tired of hiding, tired of sitting alone in my sadness. Maybe it was time to face the world again. When I met her at the cafe, Jenna gave me that look, the one that said, I've been waiting for this moment. Hey, she said, sitting down across from me. You're looking better. How's it going? I shrugged, not sure what to say. I'm getting there, I guess. You know, I've been thinking. You've spent so much time blaming yourself for what Ethan did, but it wasn't your fault. You're not broken. You're just figuring things out. I wasn't sure if I believed her. I'd spent so many days lost in the ache of everything, questioning my worth, wondering if I was really the person he made me believe I was. But Jenna's words, those words hit differently. I wasn't just a victim of my circumstances. I had choices. I could choose to heal. You've been saying that a lot, I said, feeling the tug of something, maybe hope, maybe fear, but I don't know how to just move on from this. How do you forget someone who was everything to you? She looked at me seriously, no hint of pity in her eyes. You don't forget, but you choose not to let them control you anymore. You're letting him live rent-free in your head. And I get it. I do. But when you realize that you deserve better, that's when you start moving forward. Her words hit me harder than I expected. I hadn't thought about it like that. I'd been letting Ethan's absence dictate my every move. I had been waiting for him to apologize, for him to make it right. But I was giving him too much power. I don't know if I can do it, I said, a small voice of doubt creeping in. It feels like I'm too far gone. I don't even know who I am anymore. Jenna smiled, soft but reassuring. You're the same person you've always been, just stronger than you think. And you're allowed to grieve. But don't let that grief be the thing that defines you. Take it one step at a time, and soon, you'll see you don't need him to be happy. I felt a knot in my stomach, fear, but also a spark of something else. Something I hadn't felt in a while. Maybe it was freedom. Maybe it was just the idea of me again. That night, I sat down at my desk, staring at the blank page in front of me. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like crying. I felt determined. I opened my laptop and started drafting a plan for my future, something that had nothing to do with Ethan. I listed goals, things I wanted to do, a trip I'd always dreamed of taking, a career I was passionate about. For the first time in so long, I wasn't thinking about him. I was thinking about me. It wasn't a quick fix. I still had moments where the pain crept up, where I missed him, where I thought about what we could have been. But every time I felt that, I reminded myself that this was my life, and I wasn't going to let him hold the reins anymore. The next day, Jenna texted me again, asking if I wanted to come to an event with her. I hesitated. It had been so long since I'd done anything outside of my own head. But then I remembered what Jenna had said. This was my life. I typed back, I'm in, let's do it. When I showed up at the event, I was nervous, but something inside me felt lighter. It wasn't about being with anyone else or pretending I was fine. It was about realizing that I could still have fun. I could still have moments that were mine, moments where I didn't feel broken. As the night went on, I laughed. It was genuine. And for the first time in a while, I felt a sense of hope. Maybe I wasn't as lost as I thought. Maybe, just maybe, I could find my way back to myself. It had been months since I last saw Ethan, but I knew the moment I heard from him again. The message came in late one night, a single text that stopped my heart. I need to see you. I'm so sorry. Please let me explain. For a moment, I just stared at the screen. Explain? Explain what? The lies? The betrayal? How the hell could he explain something that had ruined me? My phone buzzed again. This time a call. Ethan's name lit up the screen, and I felt something cold settle in my chest. I didn't want to pick up. I didn't want to hear anything he had to say, but I did. I had to know. Hello? I said, my voice sharp, betraying none of the uncertainty swirling inside me. Hey, Ethan's voice was tentative, softer than I remembered. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I need you to know how sorry I am. The words hit me like a slap. I could feel the anger rising, but I pushed it down, trying to keep myself composed. You hurt me, Ethan. You tore me apart. Do you even understand what you did? I know, he replied, his voice breaking. I messed up. I didn't mean for it to happen. But I love you. I never stopped loving you. There it was. The same words, the same promises. But this time, I didn't know if I could believe him. I don't know what you want me to say, I said, my breath catching in my throat. You left me. You chose someone else over me. I can't just pretend that didn't happen. I was stupid, he said quickly. I made a mistake. A huge one. And now, I realize how much I need you. You were always the one. I wasn't ready to admit it. I closed my eyes, trying to breathe through the anger and hurt. Part of me wanted to scream at him, wanted to make him feel the weight of everything I'd been through. But another part of me, the part that still loved him, wanted to hear him out. Wanted to believe that he had changed, that his apology meant something. I don't know if I can forgive you, Ethan, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I don't know if I want to forgive you. I don't expect you to, he said quickly. I just need you to know that I'm sorry. I know I don't deserve it, but I'll do whatever it takes to make it right. There was a long silence, and for the first time, I realized how exhausted I was. The weight of the pain, the betrayal, the questions, it was all so much. And yet, here he was, asking for forgiveness. But at what cost? Could I really just let him back in after everything he'd done? Could I look past the destruction he caused and pretend it didn't matter? Do you even know what you're asking? I said, my voice shaking. Do you know how hard it is to just move on from this? You think I can just forget? No, I don't think you can forget, he said quietly. But I think we could try again. I want to try again. I love you, and I want to prove it. I was silent, my mind racing. Part of me wanted to tell him to go to hell, to make him pay for everything. But then, a deeper part of me, the part that was so damn tired of being angry, just wanted to find peace. You don't get to decide how this goes anymore, Ethan, I said, the words finally coming out. I have to decide that, not you, not anyone else. I understand, he said softly. But I need you to know. I will wait for you. I will wait however long it takes. I wanted to hang up. I wanted to walk away and never look back. But the truth was, I wasn't sure if I could. Not yet. The idea of closure, of finally putting it all behind me, felt like an impossible dream. I don't know what I want, I admitted. I don't know if I want revenge, or if I want healing. I don't know if I want you back, or if I just want to move on and forget this ever happened. Ethan's voice was soft, pleading. I can't change the past, but I can change the future. If you'll let me. I closed my eyes again, feeling the weight of his words, feeling the burden of my own indecision. I need time, I said finally. I need time to think. And you need to understand that I may never be able to forgive you. I understand, he whispered. I'll wait, no matter what. As I ended the call, I didn't feel relief. I didn't feel closure. I just felt lost. The anger still simmered beneath the surface, but it was different now. The choice was mine, and for the first time, I wasn't sure if I was ready to make it. I had spent so much time wondering what I should do. Should I let Ethan back in or make him pay for what he did? Should I choose revenge, or should I try to forgive him and move on? But after everything, I realized something important. I didn't need to choose either of those things. What I needed was to choose me. I sat on my bed, my hands gripping the edges of my phone, debating whether to text him back. His words echoed in my head, promises of love, of second chances. But all I could see now was the version of me that I had lost somewhere in the chaos. The woman who let someone else dictate her happiness. I wasn't that person anymore. Do you really want to go back to him? I whispered to myself. Is that what you really want? I was torn. Part of me still wanted to reach out, to pick up where we left off, to believe that we could rebuild something. But another part, the stronger part, knew that I deserved better. I deserved to heal. I deserved to find my peace. There was a knock on my door, pulling me out of my thoughts. Jenna. I opened it without hesitation. Hey, she said, smiling softly. How are you holding up? I shrugged, but I didn't feel the need to lie to her. I'm figuring it out, she nodded, clearly sensing the shift in me. You know, I've been thinking about what you said, about forgiveness, about moving on, and I think it's time for you to really let go of him. I know, I said, my voice quieter now. It's just so hard, Jenna. He keeps reaching out, telling me he loves me. I don't know if I should be the one to walk away or if I should give him another chance. She sat down beside me, her expression serious. Listen, it's not about what he wants. It's about what you need. You've been holding on to this anger, hoping that making him pay will make you feel better. But you know what? It's not going to. It's only going to keep you stuck. I looked down at my hands. She was right. All I had done was replay the past, hoping that something would change, that he would somehow fix what he broke. But I was the one who had to fix it. I was the one who had to move forward. I keep thinking maybe if I make him suffer the way I did, maybe that'll help, I said, the bitterness creeping into my voice. Jenna reached out and placed her hand over mine. Making him pay isn't going to change anything. It's just going to keep you chained to the past. You deserve so much more than that. You deserve to heal. You deserve to be free. I felt a weight lift from my chest. A wave of clarity washed over me. I realized then that he wasn't the problem anymore. I was the one holding on to the past, the one keeping myself tethered to someone who had already let go of me. And that wasn't his fault. It was mine. I don't want to be angry anymore, I whispered, more to myself than to her. Jenna smiled softly. Then don't be. You've been strong enough to survive all of this. Now, be strong enough to let go. I felt tears sting my eyes, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of release. I had been holding on to so much pain, so much anger, for so long. But now, I was ready to let it all go. Not for him, but for me. I'm done, I said, the words finally feeling real. I'm done waiting for him. Done, hoping he'll come back and fix everything. I'm going to move on. For myself. Jenna squeezed my hand. I'm proud of you. I took a deep breath, feeling stronger than I had in months. For the first time, I wasn't afraid to walk away. I wasn't afraid to stand up for myself, and as I made the decision to leave it all behind, I realized that I wasn't walking away from love. I was walking toward me, the person I had lost along the way. It wasn't easy, but I knew it was the right choice. And for the first time in so long, I felt free. It had been months since I made the decision to walk away from Ethan, and I'd convinced myself I was done with him. I had my life back, or at least, that's what I told myself. But sometimes life has a way of forcing you to face things you've tried to forget. One morning, I woke up to a text from Jenna. You seen the news? I stared at the message for a moment before I typed back. What news? She sent me a link to an article. I opened it, half expecting something trivial, maybe a celebrity mishap or another scandal. But what I read took my breath away. The headline screamed, "Local CEO's downfall, Ethan Warner caught in major scandal." I clicked the link, my hands suddenly cold. The article detailed how Ethan's company had been involved in shady dealings, fraud, embezzlement, you name it. His reputation was shattered. Friends and colleagues had turned on him, his career in ruins. It didn't stop there. His personal life was under scrutiny too, with rumors of betrayal and dishonesty piling up. I closed the article, my heart pounding. I couldn't bring myself to feel sorry for him, not after everything he did to me. But I didn't feel happy either. I didn't feel any sort of satisfaction seeing him suffer. "Are you okay?" Jenna texted me, probably sensing my reaction. I took a deep breath before replying. "Yeah, just surprised." I wasn't sure what I was feeling. On one hand, karma had come for him. He was paying for what he did, in a way I never could have imagined. But I didn't want him to suffer. I didn't want to see anyone's life fall apart like that, even if they'd hurt me. A few days later, I ran into Olivia, one of my old friends from college, at a coffee shop. We sat down and chatted, and naturally, she asked about Ethan. "Have you heard what's going on with him?" she asked, her voice a mixture of pity and curiosity. I nodded slowly. "Yeah, I saw the article," Olivia sighed. "It's crazy. No one saw it coming. He was doing so well. But now, everything's falling apart. I don't know what happened." I wasn't sure what to say. I hadn't heard from him since I left. He'd never tried to reach out again. I wasn't sure I wanted to know what happened, but part of me couldn't help but wonder. "I can't imagine what he's going through," Olivia added quietly. I shook my head. "I don't know. Part of me feels bad, but he made his choices. He's paying for them now." Olivia paused, looking at me carefully. "It's just strange, you know, watching someone you care about fall like that." I didn't reply right away. I wasn't sure how to explain it. Ethan's actions had consequences, but that didn't mean I wanted to watch him unravel. It wasn't about vengeance. It wasn't about revenge. It was about reality. People can only get away with things for so long before everything catches up to them. "You don't have to feel guilty," Olivia said gently, as if reading my mind. "You've moved on. You've taken care of yourself. He didn't make those decisions for you." I nodded slowly. I hadn't realized how much I'd been carrying around: guilt, confusion, even a bit of sympathy. But in that moment, I let it go. Ethan wasn't my responsibility anymore. His choices, his consequences, those were his to deal with. As I walked away from the coffee shop later, I couldn't help but reflect on the past few months. I had worked so hard to move forward, to heal, to let go. And now, here I was, facing the final piece of the puzzle. Karma had come for him in a way I couldn't have predicted, and while I didn't take pleasure in it, it was clear that life had a way of balancing things out. Ethan had to face the truth of his choices, just as I had to face mine. And in the end, I realized I didn't need revenge. I didn't need to make him suffer. Life had already taken care of that. I was free. It's strange how life can change in an instant. One minute, you're caught up in the whirlwind of someone else's choices, and the next, you're standing on your own, wondering who you've become. "Hey, how are you doing?" Jenna asked, sliding into the booth across from me. At our usual cafe, she smiled, but there was something more in her eyes: pride, maybe, or maybe just relief. "I'm good," I said, trying to sound casual. The truth was, I wasn't sure what good meant anymore, but I had learned to say it. It felt better than the other answers. "I've been keeping busy." "You've been keeping more than busy," Jenna said with a grin. "You've been living. I haven't seen you this alive in months." I laughed, the sound foreign to me at first. It had been so long since I genuinely laughed without a hint of pain lurking underneath. But today, it felt different. I felt different. "I guess I am," I said, my smile growing. I finally realized something. I don't need anyone else to make me feel whole. Jenna tilted her head, clearly intrigued. "And what brought that on?" I leaned back in the booth, looking around the cafe, the familiar hum of conversations swirling around me. Life was continuing, moving forward without skipping a beat. I wasn't stuck anymore. I think it just took time. I spent so long blaming myself, blaming him, blaming everything. But the truth is, life is unfair. You can't control that. You can't control what other people do. But you can control how you react to it, Jenna added with a knowing smile. I nodded, grateful for her insight. Exactly. I spent too much time thinking I needed him, thinking that if I had just fixed things with him, everything would be okay. But that's not true. I don't need anyone else to fix me. I've got to fix myself. You've done more than that. You've built yourself up, Jenna said. And honestly, I've never seen you so centered. It's like you've come into your own. The words hit me harder than I expected. I had come into my own. It felt like a quiet victory. A victory I hadn't anticipated but desperately needed. I've been doing a lot of thinking lately, I said, staring down at my coffee cup. About trust, about myself, about everything. I used to think I couldn't survive without someone, without him. But I've realized I can. I will. That's huge, Jenna said softly, her gaze warm. You're stronger than you know. I don't know if I'm stronger, but I'm definitely different, I replied. I'm not letting anyone control my happiness anymore. I'm not waiting for someone to fix me or make things better. I'm doing that on my own. Jenna's smile widened. That's exactly what you needed to hear. And I think you're finally listening to it. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight lift off my chest. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I had control over my life again. I wasn't waiting for someone to make things right. I was making things right for myself. The next few weeks passed in a blur of small victories. I focused on my work, threw myself into projects I had put off for too long, and spent time with people who genuinely cared about me. I stopped thinking about Ethan. At least, I stopped thinking about him with anger. He was a chapter of my life I was ready to close. One evening, I ran into Olivia at a mutual friend's gathering. She came up to me with a big smile and hugged me tightly. You're glowing, seriously. What's your secret? I laughed. No secret, just learning to love myself. She raised an eyebrow, clearly impressed. Well, keep doing whatever you're doing. It's working. It was working. Not because things were perfect, but because I had stopped waiting for everything to be perfect. I had stopped waiting for something or someone to complete me. I'm proud of you, Jenna said one evening, as we sat on my balcony, looking out at the city. You've come so far. I've come farther than I thought I could, I said, my voice steady, full of confidence I hadn't known I had. And I'm not stopping now. For the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. I was no longer defined by my past. I was finally living on my own terms, and I was okay with that. More than okay. I was thriving. I never thought I'd get here. A year ago, I was a mess, broken, unsure of myself, unable to imagine life without Ethan. But now, as I stood in front of the mirror, I hardly recognized the person staring back at me. The woman in the reflection wasn't defeated anymore. She was strong, confident, free. Hey, Jenna said, walking into my apartment with a wide smile. How's it feel? I turned, trying to hold back the smile that wanted to creep up on my face. Weird, I admitted, but in a good way. She raised an eyebrow. Weird how? I shrugged, picking up my cup of coffee. It's just, I didn't think it would feel like this. I thought I'd be sad, or angry, or, I don't know, but I don't feel that anymore. I'm just at peace. Jenna grinned. You're glowing, you know that? Am I? I laughed, a light, airy sound that felt so foreign. I didn't even recognize it, but it felt like me. It's strange. It's like a weight has been lifted, and I didn't realize how heavy it was until it was gone. So, what now? She asked, sitting across from me. I leaned back in my chair, sipping my coffee slowly. I think I'm finally ready to move on. Really? Move on? Jenna's eyes softened, and she nodded. I knew you'd get there. You just needed to see it for yourself. Yeah, I said quietly. I did. It wasn't about Ethan anymore. It was never about him. It was about me. I had to find a way back to myself. You've done that. And you've come so far, she added, her voice full of admiration. I smiled, feeling the warmth of her words wrap around me like a hug. I know, and I'm proud of myself for it. The truth was, Ethan was a distant memory now. His face didn't linger in my mind the way it used to. His words, the promises he made, they didn't haunt me anymore. I had spent so long letting him define me, but now I was free. I wasn't that broken girl anymore. I had learned how to live for myself, not for anyone else. You know, I keep thinking about everything we went through, and I realize it doesn't matter anymore, I said, my voice steady and sure. I'm not going to let it hold me back. I've learned that I don't need anyone to complete me. Jenna smiled, her eyes bright with understanding. You've always been complete. You just didn't know it until now. I nodded. She was right. I had always been enough, but it took me losing everything to finally realize it. You're ready for whatever comes next, Jenna said. And I'm excited for you. I felt a quiet confidence settle inside me. I didn't know exactly what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, I wasn't afraid. I had my life back. I had my freedom. I am ready, I said with a smile, feeling the truth of it deep in my bones. And whatever happens, I know I'll be okay. I've got me. And that's all I need. As I stood up and walked over to the window, the city stretching out before me, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. The world was still moving, still changing, but I was no longer a prisoner to my past. Ethan might have been a part of my story, but he was no longer the one writing it. I was. And for the first time, I felt in control of my own narrative. I'm free, I whispered to myself, not as a question, but as a declaration, and it was the sweetest, most empowering feeling in the world.